Our hen house is a squawking house. Our hen house is their hen house. Our hen house, ooh, it's a funky fresh house. Our hen house is your hen house.
Hello and welcome to Our Hen House, a place to find our way to change the world for animals. Joining us today will be David Karopkin, the founder of GooseWatch NYC, who will be telling us all about what's been happening to some of our more maligned, many would say unfairly maligned, animal residents here in Brooklyn.
Then we will be joined by the fabulous Rachel Winard. She's the founder of Soapwalla, a company located right nearby here in Gowanus, and she makes some of the loveliest personal care products in the cruelty-free universe. She's going to demonstrate some skincare items, which are not only guaranteed to make you more beautiful, as if you could be more beautiful, sweetie,
Aww.
but also are completely edible.
What?
Yes, bringing together your two favorite things in the world. Personal care products and food.
I am so on overload right now at the thought of having yet another excuse to eat food while I'm washing my face and doing my teeth.
I'm not sure you should eat it, but you can.
You can, but anyway, please pull up some hay. Let's get squawking. Hello, Marianne.
Hello, Jasmine.
What's a show we have coming up? Not only am I excited and so interested in hearing from David Karopkin about what is going on with his advocacy efforts to save Brooklyn's geese, but wow, seriously? We get to have someone on who's going to show us how to make our skin beautiful with homemade products that we could actually eat. Like I needed another excuse to find this time to eat. I eat like, I'm eating right now, you just don't even know it. It's amazing.
I am looking forward to Rachel.
Yeah.
And for one thing, I could use a snack. For another thing, I could use a facial. Like, you know,
Seems
time
efficient.
saving. But we have not been strangers to good food lately.
Not even
that
remotely.
is for sure.
We've been eating our little hearts out.
Yeah.
It's been so wonderful.
We're not leading our hearts out because we've been eating vegan, so our hearts are safe.
Our
but
hearts
yeah,
are in there.
We've been packing it in.
We were on a not a vacation, we were on a work trip that was so wonderful and inspiring.
It was a vacation-y work trip.
Those are the best kinds, and it was in the Hudson Valley. And it's funny because you and I are both from the tri-state area originally, and yet the Hudson Valley is like this new land to us.
I've been there, but I'm really not familiar with it at all. You know, and I know it's all the rage and people go there all the time, but I really want to become more familiar with it. I really loved it. The Hudson is such a beautiful river, and we were in the town of Hudson, which I loved.
And yeah, in nearby Germantown as well. And this is going to sound so dorky, and I'm going to be embarrassed later that I
sweetie,
said
you
this.
sounding dorky,
but
that's hard to believe.
All right. But I felt so overwhelmed with this inspiration, this physical beauty all around me that I like literally started crying a few times.
Yeah, that's dorky.
It's totally
but nice.
dorky.
Really nice.
It was genuine though, or it's possible I was crying because of the food, out of joy, because we would wake up to the smell of banana chocolate chip muffins and
homemade banana chocolate chip muffins. That was breakfast one day, along with a bunch of other things.
Yeah,
what about the day we had the pancakes and the vegan bacon? With the maple syrup.
Maple syrup. Then there was for snacks we would have pizza. I would smear avocado on it because why not? And we would have pasta. Remember the pasta?
Pasta. It was half pasta and half fresh asparagus, and then the sauce, it was a Ramps pesto.
It was creamy. And
Ramps. That's one of those foods that people talk about that I never know what it is.
Right. Well,
people go to the grain market and they say, "Oh, it's Ramps season. It only lasts like an hour, and we have to go get our Ramps." And I don't even know what they're talking about.
Or if you're me, you call them romps because I always thought it was
romps
called
because
romps.
you're pretentious. But that's why we love you.
This is insult number 2, and we've been on the air for 65 seconds.
I might be on a roll.
You are, but it was just, it's funny that people say we have nothing to eat as vegans. I just want them to go stay with our friends Alex and David because
just silly.
You
have way too much to eat, more than you can manage.
In fact, we have
managed
skincare to eat too, as we'll learn later. But I am surprised, in addition to having all of this, food stimulation, that you don't have a margarita beside you. Is there a margarita in this?
No, there is not. There's no need to try that. There's no. Stay away from the cup.
Well, the reason I say this, darling, is because you have a lot to celebrate.
I do,
and it is because you teach.
And I know it.
You teach animal law, as our viewers know, at Columbia and Cardozo, and the semester is over.
Well, the classes are over, yeah. I don't, I love teaching and I love my classes, but really it does seem like this huge weight when it's over. It's very stressful being up there. It's like performance almost, which I'm not very good at.
But you're a great
I don't
teacher.
like to perform.
Your evaluations are always great, but you are in...
Except for the one who says, it was all vegan propaganda.
And then the next one's like, I just went vegan. Yeah, it worked. It's awesome. But
It's not vegan propaganda.
No,
I do not sell a bill of goods to my students. I encourage them to learn what's going on.
And any person who truly does their homework probably would take steps toward being more vegan.
Actually, I have the students report mostly on the information about what's going on with animals. I mean, I try to focus on the legal side, and I have students bring in reports on the factual side of what's really going on. Yeah, because I don't want to be just, telling people, giving them what could be perceived as just my point of view. I want them to find out the facts.
Well, so speaking of the facts, what is the assignment that you have for them that you're grading right now?
I love the third assignment. I haven't started grading it.
Uh-oh. You can't have a margarita yet.
I start grading it. I've graded my other 2 assignments. There are 3 papers during the course of the semester, and the first 2 are very legal, but the last one is really asking the students to look at the big picture and think, what do you really want the relationship between humans and animals to be in a number of different contexts, not just food, but food and research, which is an important area, and wildlife. And then, of course, since it's a law course, what laws would they enact to bring into their world? And of course, they're not allowed to assume that everybody disagrees with them, because that gives people an out. They're to assume that other people agree with them about the way the world should be. So how and then figure out how to get there.
Well, so
it always is really interesting.
Well, is there a right answer, Professor?
Well, of course not. I mean, of course not. I'm not going to grade people on their attitudes. I grade them on how well they develop this legal system to bring into effect what they think is the world. I mean, I always tell them, you can say it can stay exactly the way it is, that we have exactly the right relationship between humans and animals right now. Nobody ever really says that.
So that being said, is there a right answer, Professor? I mean, it sounds like
there are good answers and bad answers, but it's not based on what you feel. It's not based on your philosophy.
Well, what would your answer be?
Oh, my answer would be, I want a vegan world. I want us to stop exploiting animals. I think that would make things better in so many different ways.
It almost seems like
in every way. I think we should just stop doing these horrible things to animals. I don't understand why we do. I don't understand how we got caught in this crazy world where we do all of these terrible things to animals when people love animals. So, yeah, actually, I always have a few students who are vegan animal rights activists or whatever, and they tend to write that kind of paper, and it's really simple.
Well, that's what I was going to say. It seems like that would be the simpler answer.
There's no drawing lines. It's just very simple.
Yeah, well...
It's actually hard for them to write a complex paper because their answer is so easy.
Well, one sentence.
Just make it all against the law.
Yeah,
okay.
But they have to back it up. And I mean, this whole question, what about a vegan world? This is something that we talk about sometimes, and I know that it's being discussed more and more, not only in classes, but also in the media.
So.
But what do you think about this question? A lot of people don't necessarily go there because they think it might seem too radical to even think about.
I don't think they think it seems radical even so much. They think it seems crazy. Or that's what they say. Well, this is crazy, so why even talk about it? But, I do see that more and more, every once in a while, you do see people saying, well, what if we did this? Which is totally brand new in a lot of ways. I mean, people didn't even used to think it computed in any way in their heads that it doesn't make any sense. Now people say, well, it's extremely unlikely, it's never going to happen. But they do actually think about it occasionally, which is nice to see.
Well, I remember, this reminds me, last fall we were in Harrisonburg, Virginia, and we were there to speak at an event as the keynote speakers for this event called Vegan Night Out. And the event, which was organized by Justin Van Cleek, was a kind of like a community outreach.
That's cool.
And he basically reached out to the restaurants in Harrisonburg and got them to have a vegan item on the menu for that night. And then, of course, he worked with them to try and get them to incorporate that regularly. But anyway,
then they had an event.
And then they had an event. It was us giving a talk. And the evening news caught wind of there's vegans coming to town. And so they invited us onto the show, which was wonderful and lovely, and we were very honored to be there.
I was scared.
We totally expected the questions to be like, where do you get your protein? And what
Like
do
the
you
typical,
eat?
questions
And
from people who
what
don't know
kind of
anything about
vitamins do
veganism.
you take?
Yeah.
And yet, that's
Not
not
at
what
all.
happened. We showed up and the anchor was like, so do you want a vegan world? And we're like, whoa, what? But I think we have a short clip of this, actually, of this question.
You gave a good answer.
Let's see.
Ideally, would you not want any animals to be eaten, period?
Ideally, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I recognize that that's not going to happen tomorrow just like that, though, of course, we would love it if it would. But in the meantime, veganism is becoming much more mainstream, and people are seeing that it's a very attainable and healthful and a compassionate way of living. And the food is very good. The food is very
Good job,
Look how
sweetie.
fast the food made my hair grow. That was just a few months ago. I'm not even kidding. Like, wow. Anyway,
Again, your hair,
I like
the
to bring
hair,
it up every
the
35
hair.
seconds or so, at least in my head.
Can we get back to the future of the world?
The future of the world, almost as important as my hair. Anyway, yeah, so he asked it, he went there. No, you...
Oh, he asked a lot of other good questions, too. He
kept
really got
going.
into the nitty-gritty of factory farming and what was happening to the animals, and he really wanted to know the details. It was pretty remarkable.
Well,
you don't get that kind of depth.
It was shocking. In fact,
Local news in Harrisonburg, Virginia.
the Farm Bureau saw it and was like, how dare they invite those vegans on? And
Because it was a big agricultural county.
it was huge. And so they...
poultry farms,
so
loads and loads of poultry farms there.
The next day, it's 10 a.m., we're in our hotel room getting dressed. That's my pantomime of getting dressed. And we get an IM from Justin saying, the Farm Bureau wants you back at noon in 2 hours, and they want to debate with you because they knew you were a professor. And
Well,
so,
actually, I don't think the Farm Bureau wanted to debate. They just wanted to come on to counteract. And
right. And so we went and you kicked butt. You
I have to say I did very well.
did very
I mean,
well.
Though I have to say, the reason I did very well is because for some reason the Farm Bureau, after making this big stink and saying they had to have equal time, they put somebody on who had no idea what she was talking about. I mean, she really did. She was a very nice lady. She seemed like a very nice lady, but she didn't know anything about what's going on modern American farms. She just kept saying they were all owned by families. Finally, the anchor even said, well, what difference does it make whether they're owned by families? What's happening?
Well, what's happening is a very good question, and that's a question that's coming up a lot more in the mainstream media. People are bringing this up left and right. They're bringing it up on the evening news in Farmland. They're bringing it up.
As we like to say, anxieties are rising.
And this is a backlash of that. It gives me hope to think that this is a conversation that's finally on the table. Slate just had an article out called "What If Everyone in the World Became a Vegetarian?" and I'd like to discuss this a little bit.
It's a fascinating article. There's a lot in it that I really like. It's by an editor at Slate. She's one of the food editors at Slate. And she talks about a lot of the things that would be so much better. One thing being climate change. She makes the point that food, animal-based foods, are an enormous contributor to climate change, and that if we were to stop eating them, that climate change would be drastically improved. I mean, not cured. There's still many other problems, but a major contributor in a lot of different ways, both the amount of transportation involved and the fact that the animals, give off methane, which is one of the most powerful greenhouse gases. And she talks about antibiotic-resistant bacteria, how it would pretty much disappear, and that would be a great thing. And she talks about other good things, but then she says that it would tank the economy. And the reason it would tank the economy is because so many people work in livestock farming. And she does kind of say, well, some of them could actually find jobs in other kinds of farming, because the point is, which people tend to forget, is that we wouldn't need less food if we stopped having livestock farming. We would just, people still need to eat. People still need to be employed making food. Like, we're not going to stop eating just because we don't have livestock farming anymore.
But we have nothing to eat, though.
Yeah, I know. And actually, we could have amazing food, and it would take up much less land because we wouldn't be growing all that food to feed to animals who are then shipped to slaughterhouses. I mean, it would be so much more efficient. But she says that people in Africa make their living doing livestock farming. And a lot of poor people around the world do this, and it would be really hard for them. So her conclusion then which is ridiculous, because obviously that's true, and obviously there would be economic disruption, but I think it would all be good, and ultimately isn't climate change kind of going to affect all those poor people too?
It doesn't get into
They're
that.
the people who are going to get completely slammed
Right.
by climate change.
Yeah.
And she just ends up saying that, well, of course this isn't going to happen, and of course this bad thing would happen to these people in Africa, and so let's just try a middle path and stop supporting factory farms, and let's eat a little less meat and not from ruminants like cows and sheep and goats. Like, who eats goat? You know, like the typical, like we really should do something about this, but we really don't really have to upset our lives
So
too
let's
much.
just take some baby steps.
No, the world has to go vegan.
Absolutely.
She got it right in the first place. And
Yeah.
she keeps wavering between vegetarian and vegan. It's vegan. We got to stop doing this to these animals, and we got to stop doing it to our planet. And we do have to take care of people who depend on this completely unsustainable way of life. We do have to take care of them. So let's take care of them instead of making up this idea that all right, we have to like sacrifice in climate change and antibiotic resistant infections, which are going to harm all people, and just so that we can keep eating our meat.
Right. Well, baby steps
It
are
makes me
so
crazy.
yeah, and
so much good stuff here.
lots of good stuff there. And I'm just glad to see that these animal issues are becoming more and more embedded in the mainstream.
Well, the
But
whole food conversation.
I know, but as
is
they
becoming
are
complex.
becoming embedded, as this is happening, anxieties are going to be rising. And as this Slate article illustrates, there will be a lot of people contemplating how this will work. And some of them will get it right, and some of them will get it wrong. But I think it's going to happen.
It's already happening.
It's going to happen. It already is happening. But the only way to really know what's going to happen is to move forward. But I agree with you, Marianne. I think it will be all good.
Yeah,
I do.
we need to move forward in the right and dramatic and strong
yeah.
place
Right.
to really put an end to what's going on. We like to consider articles like this opportunities to continue the dialogue about animals and to challenge widely held perceptions about them, as well as to encourage people to consider the interests of animals. I mean, she didn't really talk
Right.
about the animals.
She didn't get into it that much.
She just talked about all the other enormous harms.
Yeah, but our first guest today is definitely considering the interests of animals. David Karopkin will be joining us in just a moment. I think you're going to really want to hear what he has to say, because he'll be talking about some of the wild animals who we run into here in Brooklyn and around the city. And I'm just so inspired by this young man.
David Karopkin he's really a game changer on the urban wildlife issue, which is so important. He's a student at Brooklyn Law School. And while you would think that would keep him busy enough, it certainly kept me busy enough when I was in law school. He's also doing all of this remarkable work, sticking up for wildlife with the organization that he founded, GooseWatch NYC. And I think you'll be shocked when you hear about some of the things that are happening to the wild animals who call Brooklyn home.
It is shocking. It's really mind-blowing. But first, before David joins us and blows our mind, we have a short video from the Humane Society of the United States, which asks people to think about what it would be like to be a pig in today's world. Watch this. It's pretty crazy.
We took to the street for the great challenge to see how well people can hold up under the pressure. Now, do you think our heroes have what it takes to meet the physical demands? Let's find out.
Calling your name. You can do it.
Oh, it looks pretty enticing, right? Like you just want to get into that crate. I'm just gonna need you to do a couple of basic exercises for me, okay?
Nice and snug.
Right. I need you to work with me and turn around.
Wait a minute, I'm not done. Let's raise our hands up to the sky, bring them down, bend right over, touch your toes. I think I heard a grunt.
Debbie, come on. Do the hokey pokey. It's what it's all about.
Coach, you get the knees up.
Head, shoulders, knees and toes. Okay.
Watch out. Are you kind of ready to get out of here?
I'm ready to get out.
You're ready?
This is the reason that we're down here, trying to raise awareness of what it is that these pigs have to live through.
It's awful.
They're very smart, intelligent animals.
Smart or not, nothing deserves that. 80% of breeding pigs in the United States,
The pork industry keeps them locked in crates.
unable to turn around. We are trying to do something about that. We think it's cruel.
You have the opportunity to say something to the pork industry. What is it that you would say?
I think they need to come down and do the challenge.
They don't deserve to be in those
those cages at all, actually.
Definitely give them a lot more room.
It needs to end.
We all think this sucks.
This is not a way to live.
It's not great. It needs space.
Tell the pork industry to stop using these gestation crates.
Pigs need space.
No animal deserves to live like this.
It's a great video.
Yeah, I think the video has a lot of impact.
Yeah, totally, absolutely. And someone else who has a lot of impact is our guest today, David Karopkin. Welcome to our Hen House, David.
Well, thank you so much, Jasmine, Marianne. I'm so happy to be here.
We're very happy you're here, especially because we know that you're a law student, and so you're like smack in the middle of finals right now.
I hope we're not destroying your law career.
I'm surprised you're still standing up.
We just finished the semester. I've got 3 finals in the next week and a half, so.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, the best way to prepare for finals is to come and be on the Our Hen House TV show.
Yeah.
It's well established.
You get extra credit for this, I think. So I know that you work with animals other than geese, but I'd really like to start with geese because I want to know how they became such a problem. Big quotes here, problem. When we were kids, which wasn't at the same time, but I think it was probably the same for when you were a kid, you didn't even see geese that much. They would like fly,
I don't know
over.
when it happened. When I was a kid, they would fly over once a year, then they would fly back. And that's the only time. And it was exciting.
Yeah.
Oh, the geese are there.
What happened, David?
Sure. Well, I mean, this idea that geese are a problem is, it's an opinion. It's a perspective that people have. And I don't think there's any question that over the past 40, 50 years, the population has grown significantly. And so conflicts with geese have become more and more of an issue. One of the things that I've been kind of trying to advocate for is coexistence and tolerance with urban wildlife. And so, for example, in New York City, which is where I got involved, because I'm born in Brooklyn and raised, lived my whole life here. Mm-hmm. And I got involved in this issue after they rounded up and gassed 368 geese from Prospect Park.
Wow. Wow.
And so, I mean, I was coming at it from a couple of different, because I was very confused. A lot of people in my community were trying to figure out why it happened, how we could stop it from happening again. And we spent a lot of time really learning about the bigger picture and the issues about what you're describing about how people are complaining about geese.
Why do people hate geese?
Why do they hate geese?
I think that one of the reasons, obviously, is just that there are a lot of them, and people just hate animals that do well in the presence of humans. It just seems like nobody likes an animal who does well. But one of the issues with geese, I think, is aviation safety. That's certainly the issue that's trotted out when people want to get rid of the geese.
For sure. I mean, migratory birds are protected, but they get exemptions, and you can kill geese and a lot of other animals. I mean, one of the things that I've advocated is to say that, New York City, take New York City for example, where we are killing geese in New York City parks to protect aviation safety. But that's one of a few reasons you can kill geese, because they're causing property damage or just creating a nuisance and just bothering you and scaring you.
People
pooping.
don't like the fact that they poop.
Yeah.
People don't poop.
No, we don't.
Well, we have 8 million people in New York City, and it's about 7,000 square miles. 20,000 Canada geese live, and they don't invade your apartment. They live in parks.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Now, when that plane went down in the Hudson River, could we talk about this? Was that
like it really heightened the awareness of geese?
It did, and it heightened the awareness of the issue of bird strikes, which is, as we have millions of birds that fly along the Atlantic Flyway, every year millions of birds are migrating, and we have, geese and other birds that live in the area year-round, and we're putting more airplanes up in the air than ever. So just as we have conflicts with people, we have 8 million people in New York City. Conflict is inevitable, but we don't kill each other to resolve those issues. But we take a much different view and approach when it comes to birds. Yeah. And so after the miracle on the Hudson, the immediate and initial reaction was to kill the geese in New York City.
Yeah, well, I don't think any of us are in favor of planes going down, but what is the problem with just taking the approach of kill the geese? Is it going to be an effective way to address this issue?
And that's the big question: is why is this happening? How can we get to the heart of why it's happening and prevent it and implement real solutions that protect people first and foremost? And I'm sure that the government is primarily concerned with that. But at the same time, wildlife, first of all, deserves some protection and consideration. And second of all, there's not only is there no evidence that killing geese or other birds is actually improving air safety or making anybody safer. I mean, it's costing millions of dollars, and alternatives are being ignored.
That's exactly what I was thinking, that it creates the illusion that something's being done about this. But as you made the point, we can't wipe out every bird on the East Coast or in the world or whatever. I mean, there are birds out there. We have to learn how to fly planes with the presence of birds.
Yeah, we certainly do. I mean, if you look at it like this, I mean, first of all, just to be clear, the Miracle on the Hudson involved migratory geese that were coming down from Canada. So, the killing of the geese in New York City parks, which are resident geese. Yeah. I mean, somebody described it to me as killing all your house mice as a way of getting rid of the mice in the field.
That's an interesting analogy.
I mean,
yeah.
What we think is happening is that the government agencies who are charged with protecting air safety are saying, we're just going to go start killing all of these animals and hope that has some kind of an impact on reducing the number of bird strikes. But remember, it just takes one bird and one collision.
Right. Well, what does the USDA do when they round them up?
So the way this works is USDA is a federal agency. They're a contractor. They used to be called Animal Damage Control. Now they're called Wildlife Services. Huh. And
that name just freaks me out. I never knew Wildlife Services is the agency that goes and kills wildlife. Service.
And they are basically contract killers. They don't work for free, and they can't just show up and kill geese. They need permission from landowners and municipalities, and they get paid handsomely to conduct these roundups over the summer. And the way that this has gone in New York City and in other places is that in the months of June and July, when the geese are molting, they lose their flight feathers and they're raising their babies. USDA agents in the early morning hours, when there aren't many people around, corral these birds and pack them into turkey crates and send them to either be gassed or slaughtered.
I believe that we have a video that you took of some USDA agents rounding up some geese, so let's take a look at that.
Hello, sir.
You work for June? No, you don't. You're a citizen, right?
That's correct.
Okay. Yes. Come on, we got to go back this way.
Why can't I be here?
Because the park is closed this area until it's done.
Excuse me?
The park is closed.
The woman said I could walk around.
What woman?
At the front gate. This is pretty crazy what's going on. I figure, why can't I stand here and take some pictures?
The park's closed, but
I have a permit in my pocket, sir.
Do you really?
I do.
Really? I'm just surprised.
Here it is.
That's for July 2nd. That's today. Here.
Thank you very much.
Yep. Can I see that one more time?
You bet.
Sure.
The geese are clearly unhappy.
You don't need a permit.
This is what they gave me at the front desk, sir.
Really? A permit to enter the refuge?
That's correct.
Okay.
Wow. Wow. That
Boy, they really didn't want you there, did they?
Oh, no.
They like to keep that a secret.
That video was the culmination of 3 years of effort. I mean, when I started GooseWatch, the reason was because after the first roundup in Prospect Park, the local community was upset, animal activists were furious, and we just were looking for some answers. We wanted to know why this was happening, how we could stop it from happening again. And months went by, and we had no answers just with regards to Prospect Park, whether or not there was going to be a roundup a second summer.
So this is going on in Prospect Park?
Where was that filmed?
That was filmed at Jamaica Bay Wildlife Refuge. And so what happened was the Wildlife Refuge.
Yeah.
The first summer that they rounded up the geese in Prospect Park, led to this movement, really, of local community activists who were really just appalled that this had happened. And even though Prospect Park was the epicenter of that debate and the subject, they're rounding up geese in dozens of parks across New York City. And what I decided after waiting months of trying to, have an answer as to whether or not the roundup would take place in Prospect Park a second summer. See, I live and grew up a mile away from Prospect Park, and I decided I wasn't going to be asleep in my bed. If they came back to Prospect Park a second summer, I would be there with a camera so that we could provide some of these images, because the USDA was saying that this is humane, euthanasia.
Just looking at it just gave me absolutely the chills.
I have them now.
And you couldn't even really see into those. I can't imagine what it'd be like to see into those cages. They must have been terrified, those birds.
Well, it's easy to see that when you finally get the video. This is one of the best and only videos that there are of how the USDA does their business. They don't appreciate transparency, and I've asked them to allow us to accompany their roundup operations with a neutral third-party camera person, but they don't want people seeing what it is that they're doing. So,
because when people see horrible things happening to animals, they care. They just don't want that to happen.
Yeah, and obviously even animal rights activists don't want there to be plane crashes, but they don't want geese killed if it's not the best way to approach the situation. So what is the best way to keep planes and geese from each other?
Well, it's not a simple answer, and that's why I've spent, and GooseWatch has been networking with aviation experts who are independent from government and who are looking at this with kind of a look towards the future of what aviation is going to be, because killing is not an effective response. I mean, in the past 2 years, or recent FOIL documents have shown that the Port Authority has killed 20,000 birds just shooting them on site.
Oh, Jesus.
And
that's horrible.
The number of bird strikes, just to put it in perspective, is minuscule. It's way less than 1% of the total number of flights that take off and land. And the number of times that they end up in a Hudson River or an emergency landing is a very small percentage, which is not to say that it's not a very scary possibility. But the response that's taken, how you described how people hate geese. The Miracle on the Hudson was a catalyst to enter into the kind of contract that we're seeing, is saying, we have to kill these birds in order to protect aviation safety, without having any kind of a basis or a justification for thinking that killing geese is actually going to have the desired effect of reducing airstrikes or preserving air safety and keeping people safe. Just a way of making people feel like something's being done.
So I think you run into that so often in animal issues. Somebody's making money somewhere, and there's just a quick reaction, let's kill them.
Right.
And without any real examination of not only whether that's cruel, I mean, of course, that's an important answer, but also whether it's actually going to fix the situation. It's just, let's kill them.
Well, let's talk about GooseWatch. You mentioned GooseWatch a couple times. I love your shirt. Can you show us what this is? A great shirt. Yeah, and talk about GooseWatch and what your hopes are for it.
Okay, well, we started just looking at geese, but it's really grown into a kind of an understanding that there's a bigger picture. First of all, with respect to urban wildlife just here in New York City, and the kind of things that we're seeing here are happening in other places.
Of course, the USDA is involved. That means it's happening all over the country, no doubt.
I mean, the USDA, you mentioned money. They, 2 years ago, they profit $125 million. This is money that goes from local municipalities to pay for the services of rounding up and killing these birds. And
follow the money.
The aviation justification is not the only one that they use. I mean, like you said, they poop, so we have to kill them. And sure enough, there's so many instances where after, a flock of geese is wiped out, within, 4 or 6 weeks, there's another flock that replaces them.
So killing wild animals just doesn't help get rid of them. I mean, even if you agree that should be the goal, it doesn't work.
Do you do political organizing?
We've started to do political organizing. I think that it's very clear that this is not just an issue of science and merit, but politics. When after the Miracle on the Hudson and USDA entered into contract with the city, it was Mayor Bloomberg who championed that contract and the need to take this very aggressive effort of killing geese in New York City parks. And so, even though you have different government agencies like the FAA and the USDA saying that we have to kill these birds, the actual decision is with the municipality. The mayor has the choice of saying, no, we're not going to do this your way. There's a lot. It's very complicated because of the relationship between the Port Authority and the city.
It's just
it always gets complicated, but the bottom line always comes down to let's kill the animals.
Right, let's kill them. Let's exploit them and kill them.
People don't know they don't know people are going to be upset.
Well,
I'm so glad you're speaking up for them.
David's doing incredible work. I mean, I just love that you saw a problem here and you said, well, let's
Can
fix
we talk
this.
a little bit about the swans? Do we have a moment to talk about the swans?
We have just a moment to talk about the swans.
Sure, and that's what I was talking about, GooseWatch expanding, because we know that it's not just geese. Turkeys, by the way, in Staten Island are getting rounded up for no other reason because they poop. And the DEC recently released a plan that they want to exterminate all mute swans in the state of New York on the basis that they consider them an invasive species.
Wow. Well, how can
People
someone...
love swans.
Well,
it's crazy.
And they hate them, and they love them, and they hate them, and they want them only when they want them, and then they don't want them because they poop. And it's just crazy. How can someone get involved with GooseWatch NYC?
Well, first of all, check out the website, brush up on some of the information that we have posted there, get in contact with me. We have a group of volunteers that are working together to figure out what exactly our next steps are going to be, whether it's outreach and tabling in parks and reaching out to people and letting them know, because most people still are unaware that this is happening, and to the extent that they are aware, the myth that we have to kill geese to protect aviation safety still needs to be, contradicted.
Right.
And that's why we've recruited aviation experts who are saying that really there's radar technology, there's so many other viable alternatives that haven't been explored, and we're killing first without really doing anything else.
Right, exactly. And you're doing so much else, and you're really raising awareness. And
I love that there are people sticking up for urban wildlife.
Yeah, I do too.
Those are tough animals who are just trying to get by.
And David is such a change maker already. And I know that you're taking animal law at Brooklyn Law School. I know that Piper Hoffman is your professor, and she was on our TV show recently.
She's a terrific professor.
Excellent. I don't think the grades are in yet, so good job there. No, but she is. And thank you so much for joining us today in our Hen House, David.
Right, thank you guys.
It was very enlightening.
It's really amazing to know that there's people like you out there, and it gives me hope.
Well, there's a lot of work to be done on this issue. So again, if anybody wants to join our movement, check out GooseWatchNYC.com.
Yeah, I very much encourage anybody to do that. And now we're going to be moving on to our next guest, Rachel Winard, and she's the president, founder, and chef of Soapwalla, which is located in Gowanus and which has been producing vegan, gluten-free, and non-GMO personal care products since 2009. She will be telling us some of the ways we can take care of our skin and ourselves, which are kind of the same thing. If you're taking care of one, you're taking care of the other. And in the best way possible while being kind to animals at the same time.
I'm so excited about that. And while Rachel is setting up, let's watch this video from our dear friend Ari Solomon. We were talking before about a vegan world. Well, Ari's video may give you an idea of exactly how annoying that world might be. And a laugh too.
I'm calling the assembly member to ask him to please support the spay-neuter ordinance. What time is the potluck? Did you Happy Cow Palm Springs? Are you sure these are vegan? Is there honey in your bread? Sodium bicarbonate? Did you see Earthlings? What time is the demo? I'm calling the senator to ask him to please support the ban on shark finning. You have to read Skinny Bitch. I left my leaflets in the car. Do you have rice milk? Getting a Vitamix changes everything. Autolyzed yeast? They have Dea. What time is Whale Wars on? Is there egg in your pasta? Is this the White House? Oh my God, they have vegan donuts. There's a bitch over there wearing fur. What do you think of forks over knives? She used to be vegan. She eats fish now. What B12 supplement do you take? There's that asshole with the fur coat again. I hope he's a rescue. I'm not fighting with you about honey again. Malodextrose? Kathy Freston's on Ellen tomorrow.
I love that video. It doesn't ever get old. I've seen it.
No, I agree.
I've seen it like 35 times today, and I love it every time.
Ari's a very funny guy.
And Rachel, I'm so excited that you're joining us today in our Hen House. Welcome to our Hen House.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
We're so excited to have you.
Totally excited.
You're the woman responsible for my armpits smelling good.
Yay! Yes,
which
we're all very grateful to you, Rachel.
Well, smell
all
it.
Of us.
Seriously, just a little
honey enough.
All right. Well, listen. So I ordered your deodorant because I was having a little bit of an issue. I couldn't find a good vegan deodorant with no chemicals and no animal testing. And I put on a kind of unofficial Facebook survey like, yo, what kind of deodorants do you use? And of course, this is a passionate subject amongst vegans.
Vegans talk about little, other than the things mentioned in that video, and deodorant.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah,
and someone was like, Soapwalla, stop looking, just order it. So I did. Came in the mail, and I saw that the return address was Brooklyn. So I looked you up, and I found that you're here in Brooklyn. Your company is in Brooklyn. Yes. All of your products are Brooklyn made. They're all totally vegan and cruelty-free. And
we're so excited.
And they're really good. So I was so thrilled when you decided to join us today, and you agreed to be our guest.
And we're all grateful about the deodorant thing.
Yeah, seriously. You want to, just a little whiff? Do you want to take just a small, see?
Oh, smells beautiful.
She's so much better person than I am.
Well, let's talk about what Soapwalla is. First of all, what motivated you to start it?
Sure. 10 years ago, I was diagnosed with systemic lupus, which is a chronic autoimmune illness. And it affects any and all systems of your body because it's your body attacking yourself. And for me, along with some internal issues, my skin went from like 0 to 60 as far as sensitivity, like overnight. So I was, before that, the stereotypical consumer. If it was on a shelf, I didn't think any further. I just pulled it and started using it. And this whole diagnostic process really encouraged me to take charge of my life and my health and become much more proactive. So I taught myself about what was in our skincare products and found that almost 90% of them have never even been tested, so we don't even know how they'll react.
Wow. That's great. I have to say I'm the same way, except for the vegan thing. I'm really strict about that, but I don't really think about what else is in skincare products. I don't think of them as really harming me.
Well, and ideally, we shouldn't have to, but our world is such that, it behooves you to teach yourself about the ingredients.
So did that lead to you kind of simplifying your consumption habits and what you were eating and putting on your skin? Is that what happened
Absolutely.
Next?
Yeah, it was a holistic approach for me, like everything I was putting in and on my body. And that was the philosophy I started with when I realized the products I was buying, even natural or organic, were still hurting my skin. I said, okay, that's it. I've got to just start making them. So I went to my kitchen cabinets and I opened them up and I said, if I can put them in my body, I can probably put them on my body. And I started from there. I taught myself.
Interesting concept.
Yeah.
What other basic rules do you follow?
That's a big one. I really want it to be as close to its natural state as possible. I find that, just like with fresh food, fresh produce, the sooner you eat it from when it was picked, the more vibrant it tastes and healthier it is. So
we know that about food, we just don't think of it about skin.
Yeah, I really like people to think of this as food for their skin.
Well, some of it is actually edible, I think.
Exactly, I do. I use food-grade ingredients for that very purpose.
And you follow some of the same rules that other people follow for food, like non-GMO.
Exactly.
And, is it gluten-free as well?
Exactly. The line is entirely gluten-free.
See, I'm not gluten-free, but I know a lot of people are, and I think it's so interesting. I would never, ever have thought that gluten would affect your skin. I mean, I know for a lot of people it affects your diet, but that never would have even occurred to me. So what kind of changes did you see on a personal level once you started using this type of product?
Oh, it was night and day. I mean, really, my skin was in such an inflammation mode when I started making products, and I was guided by whatever I needed. If I needed a cleanser, I was going to make it. If I needed a moisturizer, that's what I made. That's how my deodorant came about. Was I needed a deodorant that wasn't going to irritate my skin, would follow my basic principles. And
okay, let's talk about my armpits. I like to talk about them.
Let's do that.
Yeah, let's do it. Why does your deodorant work so well? What is in it? Because I have seriously tried every kind of cruelty-free deodorant on the market, and yours is the only one that has worked for me. And I'm a dancer, I'm a runner, I'm a sweater, and this works. See it? You want? What's in it?
So it's a combination of powders and clays that help absorb moisture. It's not an antiperspirant. Only aluminum zirconium or aluminum chloride can provide that antiperspirant quality. However, this will help absorb, sweat that you naturally produce, which is your body's way to cool down.
So you still produce the sweat, but it just absorbs
drier.
it a little bit.
I've just heard horrible things about
That does seem much healthier than when you think about it, stopping you from sweating, that just doesn't sound healthy.
On aluminum zirconium, it actually makes your skin cells swell shut. That's what stops you from sweating.
Wow.
And your lymph nodes are right there.
Right, I've heard that it's very tied to serious diseases when you're using antiperspirants. So it makes sense. So I love the deodorant, but what else did you bring today?
I brought a smattering of my products.
Yeah, I love it when people use the word smattering, by the way.
Oh, wonderful. That's one of my favorite words. I brought some of my soap bars, and I brought my lemongrass and green tea, which is one of my best sellers, and it actually has green tea leaves in it. I steep the tea leaves when I'm making the soap.
Have you ever heard of, I read somewhere that someone makes like a coffee soap, like that the caffeine gets absorbed into your body and gives you a buzz in the morning?
I've never heard that.
No, but that kind of makes...
what happens with the tea?
But that makes Rachel's point, too, that you are not only what you eat, but you are what you bathe with.
Totally.
Absolutely.
Oh, I'm totally convinced you should not put stuff on. I mean, it makes so much sense that you shouldn't put stuff on your skin that you wouldn't put in your mouth. This smells unbelievable.
I'm so glad.
I mean, by the way, it's deeply lemony.
Are you going to eat it? Put it in my margarita for some extra flavor?
I know you can eat your stuff, but is it true that one would want to?
I mean, it's still soap.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
So it will still have a soap-like flavor.
Yeah, no thanks.
What else did you bring?
I brought my body polish. I heard somewhere that you like almondy things.
Love almonds.
So I wanted to bring my body polish. This is my Almond Luxe body polish.
This is my favorite scent, actually, is like almond oil. We burn it in, we have like this little clay thing that you put near a light bulb, and you put a couple drops of it, of some kind of oil in it. My favorite one is the almond. May I?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Come on.
That's incredible.
Oh,
it's delightful.
Yeah. Oh, I totally want to eat this.
Yeah.
I want this for dessert.
There you go.
After you eat the soap, you could have.
No, I don't want to eat the soap, but I totally want to eat this. What is the scrub made out of?
So it's raw, organic, vegan sugar. And there's
then I totally want this for dessert.
And it's powdered ginger, powdered cardamom, sweet and bitter almond oils, and ginger essential oils.
Should one be saying yum?
I know that you are also very charitable minded in your work. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Absolutely. That I feel very grateful to be able to do this every day, and I want to be able to give back. So every November I adopt turkeys from the farm sanctuary.
Oh, nice.
That's like one of my favorite Thanksgiving traditions at this point.
We love turkeys.
And May, actually, this is perfect because May is Lupus Awareness Month. So proceeds from Soapwalla sales during the month of May, I split them between the New York chapter and the national chapter of the Lupus Foundation.
Oh, that's great. That's really great.
And your products are also environmentally friendly as well, right?
Yes. Yes.
What else do we have? Oh, I'm sorry.
We have so many good things. Well, I will show you as I answer your question.
Yeah.
So this is my facial toning mist, if you want to smell that as well.
What does that do?
So you use it in between cleansing and moisturizing. It sort of takes off any...
Sorry.
You're very excited.
Nice.
Oh, that's lovely.
Does smell
nice. And it takes off any what? We interrupted you in the middle.
So when you're cleansing, it takes off any residual.
Oh, nice.
And it also preps your skin for moisturizing. So your skin's nice and ready to really receive any oil.
That's lovely for the summer. It just feels
really
very cooling.
I keep it in the refrigerator in the summer.
Oh, good idea.
Because, well, you know, New York summers are quite warm.
And it's environmentally friendly packaging as well, too.
Yes, so I use anything that goes in a shower or a bathtub. I'm always mindful of how clumsy I am. So anything that would be in a tub is going to be in PET plastic, which is BPA and PVC free.
Oh, great.
It's also 100% recycled. And then anything that wouldn't be in the bathtub will be in glass or as open packaging as possible, like my soap bars.
Cool. Excellent. And I know that you are also a very strong proponent of not only having this kind of product available, but making your own kind of facial products and toiletries based on ingredients. That's sort of how it began for you.
Exactly.
And this is something you encourage other people to do, is that right?
Yes. Every time I send out a newsletter, I always send out a recipe.
That's great.
For people to, to experiment on your own.
Well, you would consider yourself a chef. It's one of the ways you describe yourself.
I call myself the Soapwalla chef.
Now, I hear that we are going to make something today, a facial cleanser and mask?
Exactly, yes. I figure, with the summer months coming up and people traveling and, minimizing your skincare regimen, it is a 2-ingredient dry.
Seriously?
It is. It
2 ingredients?
And since it's dry, it's TSA friendly. It's easy to throw in your bag when you're going to the gym or going to taking a dance lesson or whatever It's easy to travel with.
What are the two ingredients?
And you can snack on it.
You can totally snack on it because I bought both of these things at the local co-op this morning.
Excellent.
So the first ingredient, I got Bob's Red Mill oat flour. I love Bob's Red Mill.
Yeah,
his products are really fresh, really great. If you have oats at home, if you have rolled oats, you can always just throw a handful in the blender or a coffee grinder or food processor and just grind it up yourself. I like buying oat flour because it's a really fine grind, and you want to be careful with anything that's harshly exfoliating on the face.
Now, is this also gluten-free?
This is. His oats are gluten-free.
Okay,
they're certified.
Yeah. We actually stayed in Portland for 6 months, Portland, Oregon, because Marianne was teaching at the law school out there, Lewis and Clark, and we lived near Bob's Red Mill.
Bob's Red Mill became a part of our life.
Yeah.
They have a whole restaurant there. It's amazing.
I would love to
They
take
have
a
a
tour.
whole vegan menu.
It's a really great experience. So how much of this am I going to put in?
It's the simplest. It's equal parts.
Oh,
so
that makes
whatever
it
you
easy.
use, whatever measurement you'll use for the oat flour.
So 1 tablespoon.
1 tablespoon.
Okay. And what's the second ingredient here?
And then it's baking soda.
Oh, we all have that in our fridge.
Which we all have available.
Yes.
In the back of our fridge.
Well, I don't think you should use the one in the back of your fridge. I think you should open up a nice fresh box.
Like a nice one that you'd use for baking.
Okay, so just another tablespoon.
Exactly.
Okay.
Wow.
And then all you do is you just mix it. You can mix it with a finger, with a chopstick, with your spoon. It's very, very easy.
Okay, and so you would bring it like this to your trip on the plane or whatever.
Exactly.
And then if I wanted to turn this into a face wash, what would I add?
Well, you can also, at this time or later, you can add an essential oil if you'd like, one that you know you like the scent of and that works well with your face. So I brought lavender because that's pretty universal
Let's
and
do
nice
it.
and calming.
Lavender.
And so depending on how much you use, you always want to be gentle with essential oils. They're natural, but they're very potent. So I would just put about 4 drops for this amount. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Excellent. Mix them again.
Exactly.
I made it a him. I don't know why.
That's okay.
Genderizing is now a word, and I'm genderizing the
nice job,
facial.
honey. You're doing a good job there.
I'm a chef too. All right,
There we
and so
go.
I'm assuming that we're going to add a little water.
Exactly. You can add water or
How much?
oil. You want enough, so you'll start with just a little bit.
And then we're going to thicken it up.
Exactly. So this is where you get to experiment. You may like it a little thinner, you may like it a little thicker. If you're using it as a wash, you may want it
little
thin
more.
so that it's easy to apply and then remove. If you're going to keep it on your face for, say, 5 minutes, you might want it a little
So
thicker.
it's either a wash or a mask.
Exactly.
That's great.
Now, I have to just kind of recognize the obvious, which is that your skin is fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So do you use
I have to
this?
say.
I do.
Wow. Okay.
And I use Soapwalla products as
now,
well.
this is really, really exciting.
And it looks very tasty.
Yeah.
I'd like to pop it in the oven.
Turn it into a cookie.
You could. I mean, I think that you can make a biscuit out of it.
Well, speaking of biscuits and cookies, let's talk about these strawberries.
Yeah, what are these strawberries doing here?
What, are we going to have a fruit salad?
Yes, exactly. I think we should snack on the strawberries. But also, since strawberry season is coming up, one of my favorite ways to naturally whiten your teeth, takes 30 seconds flat, is you pop part of strawberry in your mouth, you take a nice little bite, and then when it's open, so that the white part, the interior is open where the concentration of the vitamin C and the alpha hydroxy acids are, you just gently buff your teeth.
No way! This is a teeth whitener?
It is a natural teeth whitener.
Are you good?
And it works really well. And then you just keep it on your teeth for like 30 seconds. Exactly. That's adorable. I love that.
We're so cute.
Yeah, we're so cute. It's the gay-friendly moment of the Hen House show.
Perfect.
As if the rest of the time isn't. Anyway, okay, so then what?
So how long do you wipe it on?
30 seconds. And then you continue eating your strawberry.
Wow.
Really?
And you go about your day with whiter, brighter teeth.
And I have to say, great skin and remarkably white teeth.
Thank you. However, did you smell my armpits? Because they are divine. Now, this is all very exciting, and I strongly encourage people to get into the DIY behavior of making your own products.
And also to try out some of these great products that Rachel has made.
Yeah, absolutely.
You make them yourself, right?
I do, yeah. And I make them by hand. I've got a couple helpers. And I make everything by hand mixing, hand pouring,
Here in
labeling.
Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Your Brooklyn pride.
Oh, yes.
I like that. Well, this is all very exciting, and I'm definitely going to extend beyond just my deodorant for Soapwalla because I love all of these. And I'm also going to, we have oats. I actually just bought some because we have a friend coming over who's gluten-free, and so I bought these, this brand of oats, Bob's Red Mill, and I'm going to use it later on my face because I actually do have skin issues.
You have to grind them.
I'll grind them.
But we can grind them in the Vitamix, since, as according to the video, we couldn't live without our Vitamix.
Exactly. And I do. I have skin issues, and they didn't come until my mid-20s. Now I'm in my mid-30s.
I think it's very typical.
Yeah,
a lot of women develop
is.
skin issues in their 20s and 30s.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, Rachel's going to fix all of our skin issues, and she's going to save some animals while we're at it.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much for being here with us today, Rachel.
It was great.
So much for having me.
I
had so much fun.
I do too. I hope you'll come back and make something else with us. Because
I would love that.
Maybe we'll visit your workplace as well sometime. That would be incredible.
That would be great.
And you're making our skin look zippier, and you're making us happier. You're making my armpits smell good, and you're gonna
and the summer's coming.
You're gonna help us stay fresh in those hot Brooklyn summers.
I know, it's very good timing. Mm-hmm. So that's pretty much it from us hens today. Thank you so much for joining us here at our Hen House. Remember, you can find our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, and on the Our Hen House online magazine if you just can't get enough of us. And you can find that at ourhenhouse.org.
Yeah,
I look forward to seeing you with a brand new show next week.
Do you still have your strawberry?
I have my strawberry.
I'm Marianne Sullivan, and we love dogs, cats, chickens, baboons, badgers.
Okay, I get it. We love animals. What's not to love?
Maybe you've already heard our Hen House, the podcast, about the underexplored world of animal rights. Well, we're coming to TV.
That's right. Every week, we're giving fresh perspectives on what's happening with animals. Whether you're a seasoned vegan, a part-time vegetarian, a fiery social justice activist, or you simply love your dog.
I love my dog.
I love my dog.
She's the same dog.
Of course. We'll challenge you to think differently about our fellow earthlings.
And we'll sample some fabulous food along the way.
Oh, I hope so. That's why I signed up to do this. Anyway, tune into our Hen House on Brooklyn Independent Media.
Let's get squawking.